Good evening.
Good evening, America.
Good
Good
evening,
evening, the United Kingdom. Good
From our-
evening,
From our wardrobe.
Canada. We're actually up in the wardrobe because we don't want the girls, our daughters, to be listening to this travesty of a real life horror story. It's one of those that everyone will remember where they were.
And I can
when
vividly
they-
tell you when I knew what was happening when it came in. You were fiddling around with
pancakes.
the pancake thing, talking to Kiki.
We
and
were about to go to the cinema.
And I squealed so loudly because actually I saw Miss Anne Harriman, who we follow on Instagram, had posted, "Oh my God." That was all he posted underneath. A very sort of like non-descriptive shot of, or a still, you know, from a moving image piece of film, a still from the Oval Office. And I thought, well, what the hell's this? Hit play. And then all I saw was and heard was argy bargy.
And with the first moment of it, I was like shocked, came over, and then I thought, oh, this will calm down in a bit. But it went on and on and on.
So for those of you who don't know what the hell we're talking about, this is two Brits reacting to Trump's America. And we were going to do a sort of update on the week. You know, Starmer's visited, Macron has visited. We've talked about it and touched on it in Coffee Moaning, which is our daily news sort of digest, if you like, through the week. But then this news story just literally evolved tonight. So we've taken an 8-minute clip of the scene in the Oval Office as it unfolded. And we thought we'd play it through with you and discuss the implications, because the implications of what has happened tonight are potentially seismic. I mean, I've seen trending on Twitter, you know, hashtag World War III. Where does this leave Europe? How is Trump going to respond? Where does this leave Zelensky? What the hell are the Russians making of this? You know, it's quite dramatic. And so we also want you, obviously, to share in your thoughts and what you think played out here. Because, you know, we were just having a bit of a kind of discussion before we went live about how is this drama of what feels like, just at the outset, Trump and JD Vance, the vice president, really bullying Zelensky in the Oval Office in front of the world's press, how this is going to play out for most Americans.
Let's watch it.
So let's start to watch it, and we'll pause and we'll stop at points that we both feel we want to say things, yeah?
And now I'm talking with my friends in Poland, and they are worried that you align yourself too much with Putin. What's your message for them?
Well, if I didn't align myself with both of them, you'd never have a deal. You want me to say really terrible things about Putin and then say, "Hi, Vladimir, how are we doing on the deal?" That doesn't work that way. I'm not aligned with Putin. I'm not aligned with anybody. I'm aligned with the United States of America and for the good of the world. I'm aligned with the world, and I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred, and I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, you know, him either.
Let's just pause there for a
what
second.
An interesting use of terminology. He's filled with hatred. There's not a lot of love from over there. And may we say to you, Lord Trumpton, that the world doesn't want you looking after us with your bullying, nasty character. How dare he say he's looking after the world? He's done nothing but cause horrific trouble since the day he's got in.
What you have to understand as well, just prior to this, as he walked in, when he was welcomed at the White House, Zelensky, apparently, although the microphones weren't close enough to pick it up, there was some kind of exchange from Trump to Zelensky about what Zelensky was wearing. And Zelensky's clothes and what he chose to wear to the White House today comes up again later in the footage.
And let's also remember that his country is at war.
Yeah.
So he's not wearing a suit.
So
Apparently Churchill didn't wear a suit when we were at war.
And most obviously of all, as you said earlier, Elon Musk never wears a suit.
Yeah, Elon Musk goes around in a t-shirt and a cap with a child on its neck. So if we're talking about demanding respect,
yes,
for the king of America, because he does see himself as the king.
Absolutely. Elon Musk's son
rude to
stuck
talk
a
to
bogey on the Oval Office
rude
president's desk. So I mean, again, you know, so the other thing I want to say here, just watch for the slow tightening of what I think
Bully
is
boys in the playground.
A pincer movement. A pincer
20,
movement
20 against 1.
of stressing. And also, as we move further into this clip, bear in mind the fact that, God, wasn't it weird how agreeable Trump was with Starmer yesterday? Wasn't it? God, it was almost deceptively kind of wonderful how agreeable he was. Well, now we understand why, maybe.
So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Let's just pause there. He's mischievous. He is mischievous. Could you just see the way he said that to him? Can I ask you something? Okay. I mean, my point is that Zelensky is about to be attacked, and this is the start of the attack. But he's
a planned attack.
It's a planned attack, yeah. But don't get me. I think Zelensky is quite confident in his position. He's not. At this point, he's not put upon. He's not on the ropes.
No, he is.
Well,
his face all the way through that. He was looking. He was fiddling with his hands. His face was going red and white.
Let's see, but
I don't agree.
But I think he's very bold and he's very brave at this point.
No, he's a brave man
to actually push back against JD Vance. So, as you rightly say, it's very unusual for Vance to be that close to a guest and to have been invited in when Trump said then one question.
Well, I was listening to the Bulwark, another YouTube channel, very, very politically, they're savvy, and they were saying it never happens that the vice president is in the Oval Office like that, challenging a guest.
Yeah, I mean, he was there for Macron and he was there for Starmer.
No.
So.
Outside of this administration, it doesn't happen that the
right.
vice president
I see. Yeah, outside. No.
The
Okay.
guest.
I thought you meant he's never been in there before.
Yeah, no, I didn't realise that.
Right,
but usually yeah.
He occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now the President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014 and
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
that's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire.
So he's going to great lengths here. It's really important what he's saying here. He's trying to make the point back to JD Vance. JD Vance throwing this word diplomacy. You're not engaging. You're not at the table. You're not trying. They not only tried, they succeeded and they signed, and then Putin completely tore up the agreement and Europe didn't back him up.
Our people, and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the president for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. But right now, you don't. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
Now, this was the point at which I kind of cut into the footage. First things first, JD Vance has set a complete bear trap. He drew Zelensky in to a position where he had to defend and explain the diplomacy he'd engaged in. When he explained the diplomacy,
he dismissed him,
and then moved on to why, in what way can you say that we haven't? He then accused him of litigating in front of the press. So what he's saying is, you're not allowed to have had a comeback. You're not allowed to have defended yourself.
Sit there and do as you're told. But anyway, even if you did sit there and do as you're told, we're going to find some way to goad you, because it's all planned. It's all bully boys have planned this at lunch.
Now, a really important detail to add is the Russian TASS press agency inadvertently had been let into this press conference. Well, because I've got a press release. I've got a comment from his press secretary, Trump's press secretary, talking about what happened. So bear in mind that in this room, you've already got a world's press that's been tailored.
The Associated Press wasn't allowed in.
Yeah, exactly. Tailored already by Trump and his team, who's allowed in.
And the Russians.
But you've also got the Russians in there fully reporting on this as well. So cards, World War III now mentioned, and it gets worse.
What you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Have you said thank you once? This entire meeting? No, in this entire meeting, have you said thank you? You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you can...
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I answer?
Wait a minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning. You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion. We gave you military equipment, and your men are brave, but they had to use our military.
What about
if you didn't have our military equipment...
Did you see him push him there? He pushed him.
How is this happening?
He actually pushed.
How is this happening?
Let me just scroll that back just for a second. Watch Trump actually pushes him.
you have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
you haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
you
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through this stupid president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military equipment, and you men are brave, but they had to use our military.
Yes. What about
if you didn't have our military equipment,
you invited me
if you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days. I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is
that was a very good line back.
Yeah, because he's
spouting the same stuff. This is
so
something
maybe
new.
less
In 2 weeks. Of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of
except
times
that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's very important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the cards. You're buried there. Your people are dying. You're running low on soldiers. Listen, you're running low on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing. And then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I wanted this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
With guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't with me.
For you
that wasn't with me. That was with a guy named Biden, who was not a smart person.
That was with
Obama.
It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
It's literally a disgrace.
Right at the end there, I was literally heartbroken for him, because what I can't actually believe we're watching is a man, regardless of what you think of Zelensky, whether he's made, but yeah, you know, his country has been under attack. He'll have made mistakes. He'll have overpressed here. You know, we ourselves at times have talked about the difficulties of many economies embracing and accommodating the cost of the Ukrainian war, but he is a man who's actually out there fighting for his nation.
Of course
and he is a man whose country was invaded. I can't actually believe, watching that in its entirety, we've just watched the president of the free world.
It's no longer the free world.
Actually destroying a man whose country is already being destroyed.
Having gone through so much. Because whatever you think of Zelensky, he is incredibly brave. He was offered a way out. He was offered he has stayed there. It's hell on earth there.
I've got a horrible
feeling he's been let down, hasn't he? But
it's
so many
it's
different
just
ways.
staggering.
Now America stands with Russia and China.
Yeah. I'm now going to play you another clip. This just speaks to, have a listen. The audio is a bit low at the front, but it does then pick up. This is a question from one of the press gaggle that just speaks to a room of baying wolves smelling blood.
Question for President Zelensky. Do you ever? Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're the highest level in this country's office. And you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not respecting.
I don't have such. I will wear a costume after this war will finish.
Okay.
Yes, maybe.
Maybe
something like yours, yes. Maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper. Yeah.
Maybe something cheaper.
Thank you.
The war. There are people being murdered. Look at Vance with his little bully boys behind him. This was all planned. This was a mugging, as they said on LBC today.
But just chiming in
with mugged.
Yeah, with Scaramucci, who is part of the Rest is Politics US. I understand what he means about Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio looks like he's
disgusting.
No. But Marco Rubio is struggling with this because he is in the midst of madness. Yeah. I mean,
he's supposed to be somebody that speaks for civil rights. His family immigrants. It's like Scaramucci says. His face was turning into a pretzel.
How can I
bend himself into being able? I mean, surely, how can he sleep at night? My God.
Can I ask anyone here, MeTube, you were suggesting that how is this going to float with most American voters? I mean, obviously with Trumpian voters
Any
and
Americans,
supporters.
there's American here. Anne-Marie, I think she was saying she's just devastated.
I mean, the Americans I know are all going to be absolutely crucified by this and absolutely horrified. Obviously, you go on to Truth Social, not surprisingly. You go on to X, not surprisingly. Huge support. Donald Trump and JD Vance are heroes and have put Zelensky in his place. You understandably listen to many of the kind of commentators that we're listening to on YouTube and online, and most reporters are aghast. Let me just play you this response from Tom Swarbrick, who is a conservative-leaning, conservative radio presenter. This is his response live on radio.
To work with them.
Never in my life heard anything remotely close to what we have just witnessed. We have just witnessed history. We have just witnessed something that is closer to Jerry Springer over war on the European continent.
Yeah.
Honestly, speechless.
I've never heard him speechless.
There's a press conference between Zelensky and Trump going to happen later. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if someone's going to emerge with a black eye. Zelensky looked like he was going to cry at points during that.
But then straight after that, he was so speechless, they brought the American correspondent, who I've never heard him like that. He was so incandescent, the correspondent. He said he has basically been mugged. These were two, Zelensky. These were two bully boys that had completely planned what they were going to do. The fact that Trump sat there yesterday with Starmer, he said, it's just a disgrace. It's just a pack of lies. But this is what Scaramucci was saying.
Well, didn't he?
He sits in front, whoever is front, and he just gives them whatever they want. And it was on one of the, I think it might have been the Bulwark today, saying, one of their contributors saying, he's like the drunk uncle. You think, oh yeah, you can do it. Come on, no, you can't. No, kind of like bullying.
But one of the things that
half drunk old man who thinks he rules the world. And unfortunately, he does. One
of the things Scaramucci said on the Rest of Politics US yesterday, which I thought was telling, was he said, whenever you think he's gone as low as he can go, rest assured the next day he'll go lower still. I think what this really tells us is that he was potentially just bullshitting Starmer. Starmer got on his flight. Starmer played an absolute blinder yesterday. No, I'm not taking anything away from him. But you wonder whether the degree to which Trump made it easy for him was because this was planned for later in the week. I'm just going to read you, just before we sign off, some of the breaking headlines, just as we've been on. What's the Russian reaction? That's the big question.
Can I just ask another thing? Why is he siding with Russia? They're in a mess. The GDP, apparently, Scaramucci was just saying, is the same as Italy. They're in an economic mess. Why is he? And he was alluding to all sorts of trouble that Trump might be in with Russia. Well, why?
I personally think I've got a strong opinion on this. I personally think that they both want to, although Russia has an agreeable relationship with China, I think they both want to put some distance between them both and China. I think he genuinely would like a united, collaborative alliance. He's talked about economic relationships with Russia. He talked about in these meetings in Saudi Arabia how they're brokering deals.
Trouble is, Putin is a lot cleverer than Trump. He's walking into a line.
Well, they want to carve up Ukraine between the Russians and the Americans.
Because of all the minerals.
So in further Russian reaction, the Russian Foreign Ministry spokesperson said that how Trump and Vance restrained themselves and did not hit Zelensky is a miracle of restraint. Former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev posted an abusive social media post celebrating Zelensky getting a proper slap down in the Oval Office. I mean, I can't actually believe this stuff. The Daily Mail is reporting White House war. Trump tears into Zelensky. European leaders are rushing to back Zelensky, and this is where it's all going to become incredibly problematic.
Zelensky was answering every single tweet, wasn't he? As he was
and
thrown out and had to get straight back on the plane back to Ukraine.
And most interesting in those messages of support from European leaders is all the Eastern Bloc European countries that could be directly invaded or at risk from Russia, Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia. They were the first countries to align themselves behind Zelensky. So we are potentially looking at a massive, massive schism here. If Trump decides that Europe has been a naughty boy, we could be in all sorts of deep, deep shit. Dummies for Putin. Democrats in America finally find a voice and they start to defend Zelensky after shameful Trump meeting. So Democratic politicians are kicking up. I mean,
have they got a voice?
There's a,
God, I thought they'd all disappeared into a puff of smoke.
So did I.
About 4 weeks ago.
So did I.
Not a
peep, not peep for a month. Starmer issues statements. Sir Keir Starmer has expressed his unwavering support for Ukraine after speaking with Donald Trump and Zelensky. How he manages to sort of walk that tightrope, God only knows. And the Russian news agency reporter was allowed into the Oval Office, is what I was talking about earlier. The White House says it mistakenly.
Rubbish.
You do not mistakenly let anyone in.
Rubbish.
They say they mistakenly let Russian news agency TASS into the Oval Office.
What, and banned the Associated Press, but didn't know they were the Russians.
Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, said that the reporter was escorted out. If you believe that, you believe anything. And this is some of the most recent ones just before we came in here. Trump considering pulling Ukraine military aid after Zelensky showdown. This could be disastrous. This could trigger a full-scale invasion. And then really it would be Russia at war with mostly British missiles. You're gambling with World War III, and what you were doing is very disrespectful to the country, bellowed Mr. Trump. And this is an image of the Ukrainian ambassador to the US as the whole meeting completely went south. Russia reacts with glee. Moscow's reacted with glee to the confrontation. Former Russian President Medvedev called Zelensky an insolent pig who had received a proper slapdown. And Trump, the latest comment from Trump as he boarded Air Force One was Zelensky overplayed his hand, and he says that meeting didn't work out exactly great.
Well, fantastic command of the English language.
With his stupid fucking
didn't work out exactly great.
Does anyone in the room, just briefly before we go, does anyone here feel that Trump and Vance were right to
Well, there's a few people here saying, why do you want the war to continue? It's not we want the war to continue. We'd love a peace deal, but a peace deal that seems to involve Russia getting what they want and America getting the rest from Ukraine seems a bit unfair.
Well, hang on a minute. I could get a peace deal if I went over there and said, yep, you can have whatever you want. I could also get a peace deal in Gaza if I just said to Netanyahu, yeah, have it. That's not a peace deal. It's like, for some reason, Trump, and I'm sorry, anyone who supports this approach, the idea of diplomacy is simply, tell us what you want. How many guns have you got? Oh, all right, yeah, you have it. That's not diplomacy.
That's not. Oh, Zelensky has since been interviewed on Fox News and was incredibly dignified. Given he was
Sean Thomas, hey guys, don't comment regularly, but to me, that meeting reminded me of days in high school being bullied.
Yeah.
I feel so sorry for Zelensky. What on earth does he and Europe do now?
It was just, what do we do?
Yeah.
What do we do now? Very bloody scary. That's why we're upstairs.
Oh my God, Nora Doyle, our Irish PM has just been invited to the White House for St. Patrick's Day. I wonder if he'll go now. I mean, this is the problem that everyone's in. And Spain has declared support for Zelensky. If you declare support for Zelensky, are you essentially saying, Trump, you're a total arsehole?
No, I mean, like, as they say, Europe has to now, completely rethink what America means, aren't they? And the rest of Europe is going to have to pull together.
Well, Europe are going to have to pull an armed force together. My worst case scenario for this is Europe today, right now, is more vulnerable than it's ever been since World War II as a consequence of this, because we're essentially on our own, having to decide what to do about Ukraine.
Brexit was a good idea, wasn't it? Just a little island on our own now.
Oh, God. Anyway, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Obviously, Curly Cook's Coffee Moaning papers. I'd be amazed to see what's in the
Curly
papers.
Cook's papers first thing in the morning, live Curly Cooks, and then in the evening in the members area, the Curly Cooks cook along. So we'll be seeing lots of you tomorrow. So meanwhile, lots of love, sleep well,
Okay.
night night.
Kathy Hyde says King Charles should take back his invite.
Oh, he's got to take back his invite.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.